Welcome to a new year. I decided to make a video right after I finished my yoga practice this morning with my teacher. I am soft and squishy and looking at the way the sun is dancing on the moss in the backyard, the naked trees. Today is cold. And I'm here. I'm landed. I feel my body. I'm present to the sensations and emotions that are moving through me. I'm hydrated. And as I begin to orient towards this coming 4 seasons, like we're just turning towards the second moon of winter. We're right in the middle of this composted, soil regenerating time. And it's taken me years to actually extract that nectar. And I've named this a few times, you may have heard me. To actually extract that nectar and understand that if I don't regenerate my soil, nothing nourishing can grow. I might be able to get a lot of things to come out of the ground, but the nutrient density of what I render from kind of overworked soil will just never taste the same, never meet me the same. So if you've been following my journey, you may have noticed, check out this lumpy hair here. You may have noticed that I pulled back on a lot of things. I slowed down. I really this time last year sat with and reduced like reduction, like a glaze. I reduced the way that I'm showing up and what I desire to offer into what I feel like is the most nutrient dense possible delivery. And that also means like I'm a human, so I can only physically do so much before it's like depleting or deteriorating of my body's resources, like my mental capacity to look at a screen for however long. It's only so long, right? My mental capacity to even to access my linear, logical, analytical brain, there's only so much of that a person has. And so what I've been really working with over this whole past year is recognizing where I've been pushing parts of myself into this place where what I render is not as dense nutrient wise. And that wasn't feeling good for me. I was like, if I'm not well, if I'm not nourished, if I don't feel settled in my system, if I don't feel safety, if I don't feel free, then whatever I grow is going to be infused with those qualities of, let's say, fear or scatter or frantic or overworked or, overused soil, right? So as I'm orienting towards this next year and I'm looking at kind of what I've put on my plate, I'm feeling really rich and supported by my choices to do a lot less and to choose what it is that I am going to spend my time doing with the extracted wisdom of what it felt like to deplete, what it felt like to overextend more than I had the capacity to, like to know that feeling and to make choices that are sometimes really hard to make because they mean reorganizing, restructuring, they mean, living in a different place, they mean restructuring relationships, it means restructuring businesses, it means making changes that support whatever, I've come to in terms of my own inner integrity. And I asked myself, like, what do I want to be doing, whenever there's an opportunity to be with my people, to connect with my community, what do I want to be doing? And for years I've been teaching, and teaching is amazing. And I still believe that like all the teaching I did that lives in those libraries online that anyone can access if they choose to, all of the teaching I've done over these years is miraculous and beautiful, and I'm proud of it. And I'm at this place in my life where I recognize that so many of us are so oversaturated with information, with sentences, with linear thinking, with analysis, with trying to figure it out, with trying to understand through conceptualizing rather than experiencing. There's so much of that, such an oversaturation of trying to figure it out and understand it here, and so little really landing and really feeling what it is to be alive and experiencing this concept of healing, or this concept of well-being or awareness. Experiencing that and being in that is the highest on my value list right now, is the highest in my priorities. And it's also what I need to convey in any work that I bring forward into the world, in any service that I bring forward into the world. It needs to carry that resonance, that I can teach you information, and it's awesome if you can remember that information, or you integrate that information, or the information is helpful to you. But what I see as like a really deep longing in the world right now is how much we need to just land in our being and be, and how much cycle completion can happen in that landing, how much healing and presence and wellness can be supported through that landing. And so I said, all right, how do we do this? How do we be together? What would we spend our moments in that beingness doing? Right? Because if we're going to come together and we're all going to, sit and be, yes. And like, what does that look like? And how do I convey the significance of something so important, that landing, that beingness? How do I convey that if a person hasn't experienced any taste of the freedom in that, or any taste of the flow in that, or like the spaciousness that's created when we land? If a person's never touched that, how do I convey that? How do I explain to them the importance and the really the priority of that over accumulating information? How important it is to choose to land and be with ourselves as presently as possible, in deep relationship with the land that we're on, and with each other, and how that ripple of self relationship then translates into how we navigate our lives, and how we move, what we choose, how we relate, all of this, right? Like how we nourish ourselves, how we feed our bodies, how we move our bodies, is so reflected in those chosen moments to land and to be inside of ourselves, really presently with ourselves. And I was like, how do I explain that to someone if they've not ever tasted it, if they've not had like a small sample of what a moment of really raw presence feels like, to know how important it is, right? Because you taste it once and you know how important it is. And so I'm trying, right? I'm trying to explain how important this is in all the ways that I do. If you see the stuff that I write or the stuff that I put out. But what I've recognized is that oftentimes it's people who've spent time with me. They just know what I'm talking about. If they've had time one-on-one with me, or if they've been in a group with me, they get what I'm talking about because they've felt it in my yoga classes, or they've felt it in retreats, or they've felt it when we're one-on-one. They've felt like that moment of really being here, all the way here, with everything as it is, and how profound that moment becomes, because it's a ripple. There becomes this like new chain of action that stems from the awareness of how important that moment was, of how important it was to feel fully here. And then like, what choices do we need to make, and what shifts need to happen in our lives to support more moments like that, to support more presence in our day-to-day lives. So I've recognized that a lot of the things that I put out, a lot of people who choose to be there, it's because they've been with me before. And so there's a part of me that really struggles to offer any words of description that could ever give you the experience unless you choose to come and be a part of something, to taste it, to feel it, to experience it. Um, but with that all, with that all, I decided that the thing that would nourish me the most would be to land together at these really pivotal points during the agricultural wheel, the growing cycle of the seasonal pagan wheel that I follow. The growing cycle for me is May to October. And then there's like incubation after where we are right now. So I put together this really beautiful thing. And I know that people who've been with me know how beautiful it will be. And maybe if you haven't been with me before, you're like, that's a lot of pretty words near each other. And I'm not really sure what that means. And I get it. And I wish I could give you a description that would do it justice, but I know that I won't be able to, because I know that it's an experienced thing that you have to feel in order to understand just how significant presence and landing and community and kinship with land really is. So if you've never been to anything, I still feel like jumping into something like this would be revolutionary for you. It would be a huge choice to land within yourself, to be present with yourself, to choose to care for and nurture yourself throughout the course of the year. So what's happening is there's this whole big bundle. And the big bundle is like, if you want to learn all the stuff that's online and work with me privately and work in a small group and have 4 weekend retreats in New England, that exists. That's called Hearth of the Muse. So that's an option. And I know that it's a big bite, but I feel like the people who are going to choose this are going to be the people who are ready to do the big bite. They're like, I'm going all in. I want the resources. I want the tools. I want the one-on-one support. I want to be able to talk through some of the stuff that's coming up with a small group. And I want to celebrate and land together and be present and breathe and move and cook and be in the woods together in May, in July, in September, and October. So I'm trusting that the people who've had a taste, who felt it, are going to know how significant it is to spend that much time doing this, doing the being, right? Doing the being, landing in presence, caring for our bodies. And I'm also going to trust that maybe some of you who've never spent any time at all in this are still going to go, that's the thing. That's the thing that I need to do. I need to choose to move myself out of my regular everyday life, drive up to New York, drive to Vermont, fly in, depending on where you are, and just put myself with other people who get it, to breathe and feel my body and eat nourishing food and listen to stories and celebrate what's happening in the natural world, in the natural cycle that's occurring inside of me as well. And I'm just trusting that that's how it's going to work, right? That it's just going to be the right people. So if this is something that you're feeling, if as I'm speaking about it, you're like, yeah, that's the thing. There's 13 spots in each weekend, and there are only 8 total spots for the whole experience. So if you want to do the whole thing and you know that you're going to need a payment plan or you're going to need to work something out, we're beginning everything in May. So you've got a couple of months to really comb through, ask me questions, we can talk, figure out if it's the thing that's going to be the most supportive way for you to have a really nourishing growing season this year. So that whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's just regenerating your soil or you are putting some seeds in and you're hoping to harvest by the end of this journey, I want to be able to support the people who are saying, like, this is the thing that I need to do. I need to sit with myself. I need to feel what's happening, and I have to be honest about what I'm seeing. And I really believe that this has been the most transformative thing in all the almost 2 decades that I've been in the spiritual industry. Like, I've learned a lot of amazing information. I've acquired and accrued a lot of amazing information. Nothing has changed me, grown me, deepened me like landing in presence. Nothing. There has not been anything more profound. There's no piece of information that anyone's ever given me that has grown me in the way that presencing has. And I want that for all of us. Not like, almost selfishly, I want that for all of us, because to be around people who know what it means to land in their bodies, that's a gift for me, right? To move in a world where there are more and more people who are actually here and not one foot in 5, 6 different timelines. They're here. They're here in their bodies, and you can feel it. You feel it when you hug them. You feel it when you speak to them. You feel it when you sit with them, in the resonance of their voice, in the way they speak, in their cadence. You feel what it is for a person to be landed and with you. And I want that. I want to be around more people like that. And I want to be a person like that. I want to be a person that when you sit with me, you feel my presence. I don't know that anything has ever impacted me more than my own presence and the presence of people around me. So that is why Hearth of the Muse exists. And this was a long, rambly video, but I want you to know my heart. I want you to know that it's been hard and scary to even choose to pull back as much as I have in so many ways, and to say, look, this is the thing that matters. Maybe these things are shiny and sparkly and people will, like them or want them because they're shiny and sparkly. And the hard thing, the landing, the really, the thing that requires all of you, a lot of people aren't going to choose it because it's scary to ask that much of yourself. And it's easier just to acquire more information. But the reality of it is that the deeper I go, the more I'm actually unloading information. I'm unlearning, letting go of a lot of ways of seeing that allow me to continue to create more space and more space and more space and more space to feel, to be here all the way, to be fully in my aliveness. That's really important to me. So that's what it is. And this is my invitation to you to check it out, to ask me questions, to consider it if it's something that you think you might want to do. If you want to just come for one of the weekends, let me know like immediately, because there's only so much space in each weekend. And obviously I'm going to prioritize, if people are going to come for everything, I have to make sure that there's space for that. So let me know as soon as you know if you want to come in May, July, September, or October. And if you think you might be one of the people that's going to take this full ride, let me know so we can make a plan. The sooner we, talk, the more time we have to make the plan, and the more possible it is to make it accessible for you. So there's that. And I will also just say that the 2025 Hedonism Retreat is already halfway full. And that is happening in February 16th to the 23rd, 2025. So we do similar things, just in the jungle by the sea. We're landing, we're presencing creativity, we're coming back into play and expression, but really for the same root purpose, which is to be all of ourselves, to experience what it is to know wholeness. And I think that that really is the path to well-being, is that all parts of us are welcome, that all the cages are unlocked internally, and that we're able to sit with ourselves, all of us, like everything we are, and feel it. So I love you very much. I hope that your winter nest is nourishing. And I hope that this video has been supportive for you to determine what's most important for you. And I think that this is the time of year for that. Like, what really matters most to you? What do you want to be spending your time doing? What matters so much that it has outlasted every hard thing you've ever gone through? What persists? And today being the Yule Day of the Evergreen, actually. And it's funny. The celebration is like what endures, like what makes it through all the winters of your soul, all the hard deaths, all of the endings and challenges that you've faced. What still matters? And for me, what still matters is presence in my body, my health, the people I love, connecting with people who get it, being in relationship with nature, like nourishing relationship with nature. That's what matters still to me. And so and of course, creativity and artistic expression, like where would we be in the world without it? How would we have survived some of the biggest, hardest things without it? I don't think we would have. So everything that I'm building is rooted in what has endured for me and what has meant the most, what has continued to matter. And yeah, so I love you and nice to meet you. It's a weird combination, right? I love you. Nice to meet you. If this is our first time connecting, this is how it goes with me. I'm all in immediately, and I want to do the real things. I want to spend our time doing the real things. So, yeah. Take care of you, and I'll see you soon.